then welcome to everyone.
Yes, of course. All right, so the first question we got here, this person had asked, what are some of the more subtle or less obvious signs that one is encountering ageism in a job hunt interaction? So let's talk about this. If you think that you're experiencing ageism, what might that look like?
Well, usually you'll see things like cultural fit in the job description, or energetic, or digital native, or sometimes in a Zoom or a face-to-face, you'll even get some of the more patronizing titles like sweetie or hun, which is the intersection of gendered ageism. So it's kind of a double whammy, but those are primarily all that you'll see a discrepancy where they'll list 1 to 2 years experience, but the job description, someone with 1 to 2 years couldn't do it. So that's kind of a clue that they're looking for someone younger to do that job that you could easily do. So there's some, I think they're less prevalent today, obviously in your face, although they're still there, the ones that will ask you what's your age, or when did you graduate, or how are your grandchildren, and you just have to work around all of those questions and try to avoid them. So those are, but the subtle ones are more, they're looking for cultural fit, for high energy, digital native. Because
makes sense.
Across the board, the concept, the belief is that the older you are, the less you can do technology, which I absolutely know is incorrect, not from me, but from my friends. So
yeah, of course. Okay, so let's talk about that intersection of tech and ageism. People are doing more and more with LinkedIn profiles than many of us might be used to. I remember, when I started into the job world, it was not even a thing. So this is obviously a concept that is not going anywhere. So what should we know about our LinkedIn profile when it comes to things like ageism? Are there certain ways that we can, maybe not make ourselves so much of a target for it? Or are there things we should know about how we get our LinkedIn, looking?
Well, I think the key, just as in a resume, is I think, first of all, I never suggest putting a resume on LinkedIn because you're tied into that one resume. So you need to fill out a profile. You need to list your work experience. You need to list your skills. Your work experience ideally should not go back more than 10 to 15 years. If you have work experience in one company, not one industry, one company that is further than that, then you should have a progression. And on LinkedIn, I think you can end your progression a little bit more easily than on your resume. So really where you're promoting yourself is with your skills, your achievements, and you need to be very careful about your little statement describing yourself. You need to be very selective and work hard on that to get it to what you want, like your professional summary. It needs to explain who you are and what you bring to the table, succinctly, of course, but it should explain it. And then you need to identify yourself with all the skills. If you can get endorsements or people who suggest you, those are important. But you really just need to be, just as you are with your resume, sensitive to the amount of time that you're giving them for your background and such. So I think that's really it. And as I said, not loading your resume because you're locked into that one resume. And really, ideally, what you want to do on a resume, you need to identify and research job descriptions of what it is you want to do, so that if you look at maybe half a dozen or less job descriptions it can be around the country, and look at what it is that overlaps, how they're describing what they want. And then if you have those skills, make sure that you're adhering to what is being described in different jobs, so that people can identify you with what they want.
Yeah, it's the key, mimicking those action verbs or utilizing the keywords, whatever it takes to get that HR person, the recruiter, whoever it is, like they can quickly and easily see how you slot it. Yeah.
And never forget your soft skills. Those are
Yes.
very big today and very important. And, if you've done time management, team leadership, or team member, whatever it is,
Managing your own schedule, or yeah, there's a ton of stuff that fits in there. We did get one question I want to make sure we touch on. As you're filling out your LinkedIn profile, and you want to include all of these things, what happens if what you consider to be your most interesting accomplishments were 20 to 30 years ago? Should you drop them? Is there a different way to work them into into your profile in a way that does not date you in a way?
I think a couple of things. I think you have to make sure that it's relevant today. So, for example, in the technology industry, whatever you did 20 years ago doesn't count probably today.
If
So
you like revolutionize someone's Rolodex system or something.
Right. That old Dell, yes. If you so you need to make sure it's relevant. I mean, I know as professionals, we're always proud of what we've done, but just make sure it's relevant. And once you've determined that, then you can put it in as your skills or as an achievement, but you don't have to identify where. It's not necessary to identify. Because you can, when you're interviewing, you can relay that story. You can say, at some point I worked for, I don't know, IBM, and I did that work at, I had that achievement there. It doesn't necessarily have to be there. You have to be able to back it up, but it has to be legitimate. But I don't think that you need to have the achievement, the date, and the time that you did it. So, yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. All right. This next person had asked, many online job applications require years of education. Would you recommend that we fudge the years when it comes to completing online applications?
You should be able, in most of the application systems, you should be able to put in 9999 and it will take it. So if you can't do that, no, I would not recommend you fudge anything, but most of the systems will take 9999.
I like that. All right. Our next question. This person said, I started in tech when I was barely out of high school, but now I'm almost 50. How can I show my 30 plus years of experience without looking like I'm elderly enough to retire?
Well, you need to have the progression. So you need your current experience and your current skills and your current knowledge are all critical, especially in that industry. So you need to highlight challenges that you've overcome. You need to talk about or highlight in your achievements successes you've had. Yeah. Successes that when you sit in an interview, you can put a story to them, because that's how people will remember you. So if you've again, I always go back to I increase customer engagement by 50% or whatever it is. Those achievements belong in there, and the story behind them needs to be in your head for the conversation. But as far as your extensive experience, ideally go back 10 to 15 years in a progression. And then what you've done before that, if it's relevant, you can put it in the achievements. And then when you're speaking with a recruiter, you can reference it. I think the standard is a recruiter takes 6 to 7 seconds to scan a resume. That's after you've gotten through the applicant tracking system, which is critical. So you need to make sure that what you're feeding them, so to speak, is what they're looking for, is going to make them say, oh, I need to talk to this person. So you need to study that job description, and really, you should have a classic format resume that you can tweak, because it's not to misrepresent anything, because you have to have the skills behind it, but to tweak to what they're looking for so that it makes your resume stand out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I like this. Okay. Next question. We did get one in the chat. This person said, I'm in my 40s, which my resume also reflects, because I've been in the workforce and the same industry for over 15 years. However, very often I am still mistaken as a new graduate or intern with lack of experience. Do you have any tips for this? Like, I'm thinking in terms of somebody who's maybe scrubbed identifying years and things from their resume to the point that it might shift you into a different set of issues, if that makes any sense.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. If you're staying in the same industry, you should appear to be qualified for most of the positions that you've had. The fact that, again, that you're going back to 10 to 15 years and maybe leaving out 5 years doesn't mean that you can't represent those 5 years of achievements or 5 years of experience or 5 years of skills in your skill section. Whatever you learned, whatever you, so because you wouldn't have a chronological showing of maybe that first 5 years. So you wouldn't have bullet points expressing your achievements. But if there's something in there that's relevant, again, you would have an achievement section or highlight it so that you can put it there and then you can refer to it again in the interview. But you can represent that. I'm not sure if you're staying in the same industry, I'm not sure, and you have that many years, why it's you're struggling to show that you're qualified.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If there's more details you think we should have on this question, please feel free to write in. Yeah. Now, if this is a situation I have absolutely run into, is where you just look pretty young. Like, I'm 37 and that I still get carded like for what, going to R-rated movies. So truly it is not a great, a great problem to have either. I've been there. But yeah, I agree. If you are showing that progression of like, here's where I started in my career and these are the steps that I've gone, then yeah, you should be in a much better situation. Hopefully, fingers crossed for you.
Right.
All right. We had another question. This person wanted to know, what are some strategies to prove to employers the benefit of hiring seasoned professionals? So let's say you're interviewing or you're trying to make a case for yourself in a situation where they're not necessarily thinking in terms of filling a culture gap.
Well, I think that I think it's again a double-edged sword, because you don't want to address it from that perspective. Okay, so I'm old and I bring a lot of wisdom with me, but you need to highlight, again, we talked today, and I find it interesting with my many years, how we label everything, and today it's storytelling, and so that's what you need to be able to do. You need to look at when you're going on interviews or when you're looking for a job, you need to really research the companies that you're targeting. You need to understand their mission statement and what's going on with them. Are they in the news? Is there anything particular that you relate your experience to? So you need to be able to show them the learning curve that you're not going to need, and you need to be able to show them how more, maybe in the past, if you've worked on cross-generational teams, you can speak specifically to it and how they are more successful because you have different perspectives. So you need to just be able to intelligently talk kind of generically and discreetly about why it's so important. I mean, fundamentally, we all know from studies that the older employee is healthy, is loyal, is dedicated to the job, is more even-keeled, honestly, because I know I was a little more hyper when I was younger.
More inclined to stability because the rest of their life is probably, somewhat established.
Right. So and has a lot of wisdom, where, again, that perhaps young person has a solution, but the older employee has the best way to implement the solution. So their studies have shown all of these things are more successful. So you just need to be able to talk to it without bringing the highlight to the fact that you're an older employee. So it's a double-edged sword, but I think you just need to evaluate what you've done, evaluate how you're presenting yourself. You can record yourself on your phone and be your biggest critic, show it to your friends and ask them, how am I looking? And be able to relay these stories, to do this, as they say, storytelling. Because again, that makes them remember you and makes them understand how valuable you are, because you've encountered these situations and you know how to handle them. You might not have the exact solution that they need until you better understand their challenges, but you've been there, done that. And that's what you need to be able to share.
Yeah, no, I like this a lot. This is great. Okay, let's turn it in more inward. This person had asked if you had any advice for combating in-house ageism. I'm applying for a new role at my current company and they haven't told me, but I know that hiring managers are hesitant because I'll be reiterating in about 3 to 4 years. Younger generations are changing roles every 3 years. So let's talk about this. What should you do, or are there different things that you should like listen for or prepare for with an in-house interview, as opposed to interviewing someplace different than where you're working currently?
I think that you really need to, again, older employees sometimes, especially when you get like to my age, we have our own self-assumptions, and we need to get that out of our mind. We need to understand how valuable we are, what we bring to the table, what we can do, what we can't do. We need to be enthusiastic. We need to be persistent. We need to be not stalking, but persistent. We need to be passionate about it. We need to understand what that other role is, and then come up with perhaps solutions, especially if you're internal. You understand what's going on. You understand what needs to be done. So you need to develop solutions that you can present. This is how I would handle this. This is how we should handle this. And you need to highlight the fact that that you are connected to the company, that you are enthusiastic about their mission, about what they do, again, that you have enjoyed being connected to them. And the 3 to 5 years, yes, the lifespan of an employee today is absolutely that. But again, it's something where it's a double-edged sword, where you don't want to touch on that. If they have an expectation, well, you can reference the fact that there are every day almost results from studies that show that our life expectancy has grown, that our quality of life has grown, so that we as people, which is why I do that course, need to evaluate what we want to do for the next however many years, because there's going to be more than we expected when we started, either through need or through a desire to just be active. People are going to be working longer because life expectancy has grown and quality of life. And so you can reference that, but I would say if they brought up to you, which they shouldn't, but maybe, about when are you going to retire, that would be an answer. Like, do some research and see that life expectancies have grown, that we now cut where some people will go 30, 60, 90. I have a 30-year plan of 60 and 90, and some will go in 25-year segments. And so everything is extended, and that's an adjustment that society will have to make and companies will have to make, but that's the reality. And so you need to be ready with that answer should they bring it up.
Okay, I like this. Okay, we've gotten a bunch of last minute questions, so I want to see if we can knock out a couple of these. One person had written in asking about job posting websites that cater to older workers. A lot of other people have asked some questions anonymously having to do with like relaunching your career. So let's talk about this. Are there any sites that you recommend people utilize if they're, elderly, dear Lord, of the elder generation, but don't want to feel like they're, being overlooked?
Yes. Okay. So there's a couple of things that I answered this question before, and so I have my notes so I don't forget anybody. So I know that there are some sites such as AARP, Retirement Jobs or Retired Brains, if you're looking for just freelance or part-time or those types of things. But if you're looking for a place to either get back into the workplace, or if you've had a small gap or a large gap, or if you're looking for companies that are particularly friendly to older employees, the two sources that I always suggest is, number one, Googling returnships. And there are companies that do it, usually in the spring and the fall. They have programs. I've had clients who have gotten returnship programs and loved it. It's like an internship for older employees. So number one, you can look at those programs. If none of those programs fit your background, you nonetheless get a list of companies that obviously embrace older employees, that are friendly to older employees. So you start looking at their career pages and what they're posting. The other thing is, there's another site called the Age Friendly Institute, and they have a program called Cafe, which is where companies will sign a certification that they will engage and consider older employees. So they also have a list of companies that you can look at. And then again, put an application in online, look at their job postings and see what they have. And those companies, at least you get a little bit ahead because they embrace older employees.
For people that are asking about the list, this actually, the recording for this this session will be available to y'all in about a week and a half. You can also head over to our YouTube channel and you can grab the recording there. Usually within about like end of day today, it should be there. But really good option in case you are wanting to review some of the stuff that was said here today. You can, fast forward around to the parts that you would like. Okay, we've got about 5 minutes left. Let's see if we can get to any more of these. All right, one question. Do you have any tips for dressing younger or just being making sure that you are presenting yourself in the best way possible? Do you recommend people dye their hair? Do you, are there any like kind of standard things that you've seen that either really work or maybe really don't?
The key to what really works fundamentally, and what I find interesting that there's not enough of, is confidence. You need to be confident in your ability and what you bring to the table and the value that you offer them. Beyond that, yes, I dyed my hair when I was in corporate world. And so if that's going to make you more confident, then that's what you need to do. Whether you dye it like Meg, pink, or whether you dye it, mine was always blonde. However you can build your confidence is what you need to think about. If you're just as confident with your gray hair and very much in your face kind of way, then go with the gray, which is where I am now. But it really depends on your personal ability to be confident. The same thing in your dressing. I tell people, from the moment you're on Zoom or in a face-to-face interview, you're being evaluated. You're being evaluated with what you wear, what you carry as a woman, with what you carry, how you sit on a chair, because men sit back and relax usually, and women sit forward and look a little bit less
attentive.
So you have to think about all of those things, and you want to be stylish, but appropriately dressed. What you can do, again, is video yourself on your phone and look at how you're presenting yourself and evaluate it, critique it, and make it the best you can be. I've had clients who have taken their grown daughters out with them to shop for their job hunts. So whatever is going to make you confident and feel good about yourself is what you need to do. But you do need to be sensitive to it, because the burden falls on us, whoever we are, man, woman, whoever. The burden falls on us to not give them the opportunity to make assumptions about us or to date us. So we need to be confident, we need to understand our value, and we need to represent it in how we dress and how we come in and sit down and engage.
Yeah,
that's my preaching. So
excellent. No, I think this is all excellent advice, and it really does go to kind of show you are the architect of what you're putting out there, right? And so we want to be cognizant of these things because we want to put ourselves forward in the best possible way. But when people are telling you like, oh yeah, bring your full self to work, it can be really difficult to feel like it's okay to do that, as well as trying to address and like prepare yourself for the potential for ageist reactions.
Right. And I mean, some industries, as you know, some industries are different than others. So you can understand, you can research, you can find out about them, and again, make appropriate adjustments. But you, again, have to just be very comfortable with what you are composing for yourself.
Yeah, I like this. Okay, we had a couple people submit last minute questions. We weren't able to get to them, but I did try to grab some links for y'all to searches of our profile, or sorry, so searches of our archive on our platform. So that way y'all can take a look at some of the really excellent resources we have for you there, past events that are on these subjects directly. So I've tried to nest those where I could so they didn't get lost in there. Helen, I just want to say a huge thank you for joining us today. If people are only going to remember one thing as they leave us today, what do you want that one thing to be?
I want them to remember that they are incredibly valuable and have a lot to offer, and they need to look at it and study it and then take it to heart, so that they're confident when they go out that it doesn't matter whether you're 40 or 80. Honestly, just read an article on 80-year-olds that are still going. So, and I'm not that far off. So yeah, just
I mean, I'm honestly prepared for that to be me at some point. So, you know,
never say die, but they can also go to my website and get a free consultation. If there's a question we missed and you would like to chat with me about it, feel free to go ahead and do that. So.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much to all of our wonderful people who joined us today. If there was a question that you, again, are worried that you missed at the beginning of the session, I did see a couple last minute questions that were answered early on. So you can always review the recording later on. And these recordings live on in our website forever. So you can always go back and take a look at all of the wonderful chats that I've gotten to have with Helen over the years. So again, thank you so much, y'all, for taking a half hour out of your day to spend here with us. We really appreciate it. And I hope that y'all are proud of yourselves for doing something positive for yourself and your career. If this was your first Power to Fly event, I really hope it will not be your last. And to all of our frequent flyers out there, I can't wait until the next time we get to see y'all again. Have a safe, happy, healthy rest of your day, week, and weekend, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Meg.